Like, what is pain? What is happening when you experience a type of pain, just in general? Like, what's going on in your body? What's going on in your mind?
So, I mean, pain is a big topic that involves a lot of different parts of your body. But simply put, you have nerves that run throughout your body. You've got some in your fingertips, toes, in your extremities, and generally the ones that you have in the hands and feet are the longest nerves. They all come, down the brain to your spinal cord, and then they kind of just spread across your body. So you have some in your gut and other organs. This is why you can get like a stomach ache, even though you don't get like any external stimulus. And you've got some in your skin. So you have them pretty much everywhere, almost everywhere. And so let's say when you have a typical, what we call acute pain, and you, let's say, touch a needle with your finger, those receptors, there's receptors in your skin that are connected to those nerves that are going to get activated and send what we call action potential. So it's essentially an electric shock that goes through those nerves to your spinal cord and then up to your brain. And once in your brain essentially decides whether this is something that requires a reaction. If you, like, it can then elicit motor functions so that you step away from whatever the source of pain is, and eventually as well pain. And so you've got different nerves that have different sizes, and some are, the bigger one are related to touch, and those are bigger because they are myelinated. So they have like a little blanket of myelin, which enables them to go super fast. So you perceive touch before you perceive pain. And then you have smaller one that are directly linked to pain. And so generally those are the nerves that patients with neuropathic pain have issues with. So either it's because they had an injury that's led those nerves to basically not reconstitute themselves properly, or it could be because of a mutation or diabetes, cancer, and then you can see that the disease or even the chemotherapy can lead those nerves to degenerate, causing them to basically feel like they're almost always activated, and sometimes be triggered just by hotter temperatures or other things like that. So in a nutshell, that's kind of what happens. And then you have a lot of other things. You have like opioids. So like morphine is a synthetic opioid, but you have natural opioids inside of you. And so these also play a role in attenuating your pain. So there's a lot of different things happening in your head, in your spinal cord, in the periphery. So
let's take something like, if this coffee,
right.
I don't know if people can see it. Yeah. This coffee, if it was still burning hot and I stuck both of my fingertips in this coffee, I would get this sensation of touch first. Yeah. At like very, like, in time that we can't even perceive, like just like microseconds or whatever. And then based on the level of that touch, you said there's an electric shock or electric
essentially
circuit.
There's an electric stimulus. So it's kind of like, so action potential are just like waves of electricity. So you've got a wave that then activates another wave, and so it basically just conducts like that along your nerve. And even more interestingly, I think, in terms of the heat, is something that I've noticed. I went to a steam bath a couple years ago, and I was just chilling, and there were like droplets coming from the ceiling onto my skin. And I was, as you know, a pain scientist that can't relax and not think about science, I realized that I felt the droplet and almost a full second would go by until I would feel like burning heat sensation. And so every sensation varies. And so you've got like sharp pain, like more that you can get, let's say, from a needle or from a cut. You have like more expanded pain that you get like if you hit yourself with a hammer. So you've got different stimulus that activate different receptors. So if, let's say, you were to put your hand in a burning hot coffee, that'll activate heat receptors, and so you'll have like you touching water. So you have like those mechanic receptors that will feel the pressure of water against your finger.
They'll feel the actual liquid.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then the heat receptors get activated. But like, even though the receptors get activated at the same time, you basically like the electricity that goes through those myelinated fibers, like those nerves that are like much bigger, will go like super fast, like flash.
Okay.
Super speed. And the other one will just kind of go like a snail. And so eventually you'll get the message. It's just like really late, like you're calling from a different country or something.
So it's the touch first, the mechanical aspect. And so whether you stick your hand in coffee or water, you get the sensation that you're putting your fingertips in liquid.
Yeah.
And then there's a separate response that will cause you to either keep your hand there or pull it away slightly or like jolt your body away. And depending on how strong that response that is, that's like a reflex. You can't control that.
Yeah. So like you have like sensory neurons and you have motor neurons that are both involved in those mechanisms. And so the sensory neurons are those involved with pain and touch, and motor neurons with eventually that reactivity to just kind of like step away from danger. And basically that happens even without the brain being particularly involved in that. And so the brain is more involved in part memorizing and linking fear maybe to certain activities, so you don't keep injuring yourself on the same thing. Let's say if you touch a fire for the first time, your brain is gonna like make sure that you don't do that again, so, otherwise you'll just lose your hand eventually. And sometimes your brain might react inappropriately. So for example, there's this story that I think is super interesting that was told by a neuroscientist, and I forgot his name, but maybe you can put it in the show notes, who is Australian, and he used to like walk through the bushes all the time, and he felt like twig on his leg, or at first he didn't think of anything of it, so he just kind of continued, and later on he realized he was bitten by a snake and nearly died. And so what happened there is that because his brain kind of thought, okay, we hear all the time, like this is probably nothing, so there's no need to ring the alarm and be like, okay, be in pain. But then when he took another walk in a similar area, he was walking around and then felt horrendous pain. And when he stopped to look at his leg, he realized that it was just a little twig's cut. But this time the brain overreacted because the last time he underreacted and the person almost died. So this time he's making sure that the person is going to be in so much pain that they're going to do nothing else but worry about what's happening.